There are more than 260 bills on the governor's desk right now as we speak, but he only signed one of them on Friday. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus for the latest. Fridays are typically bill signing days for Governor J.B. Pritzker. If he's not going to have a separate event like he did with the budget to sign the bill in front of people and to get the picture of him signing with multiple pens, then he'll do like big announcements of these 12 bills were signed, or I've seen announcements where it's these 250 bills are signed. So we're going to be watching that for Friday afternoons. Typically those get dropped at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's always a mad rush to try to see which bills he signed. But here with Illinois in Focus Daily, I am Illinois editor Greg Bishop for the Center Square, and you can see here 264 bills on the governor's desk. All right, just scrolling through them. It's a lot of legislation, and that's about half of what they passed in spring session. So that means the other half are going to be queued to go to the governor in short order. So, he's got several, weeks, I think like 30 days to act on legislation, and then the House, if there's a veto, and the Senate, if there's a veto, they have to act on it within 60 days, I believe. I'll have to double check on those dates, but I mean, that's the process essentially. So you've got so much legislation on the governor's desk. Obviously, some of them are going to impact a variety of things, from local governments to gun owners to regulations on businesses and regulations on property owners and landlords and schools and universities and the criminal justice system. And that's what was impacted Friday by Senate Bill 19 being signed by Governor J.B. Pritzker. And this dealt with the Prisoner Review Board. Now, the Prisoner Review Board has been under scrutiny with the Pritzker administration. If you recall, over the last several years, there have been some appointments to the Prisoner Review Board that the governor would make that the Senate has to advise and consent. All right, it's very similar to the U.S. Congress and the President of the United States. If the President makes an appointment to a cabinet-level position, for instance, it doesn't go through the U.S. House. It goes through the U.S. Senate for appointment and, for the advise and consent role. Only the U.S. Senate has that ability, not the U.S. House. Well, it's the same thing in Illinois. Only the Illinois Senate has the advise and consent role when it comes to executive appointments from Governor J.B. Pritzker. So the Prisoner Review Board, they review applications for people who are looking to have some relief from their conviction and prison sentence. Sometimes it's they're ailing and they want to be close to family before they pass, or it's, I'm reformed and I'm ready to get back out into society and be a productive member. So you've got various types of requests. So the Prisoner Review Board handles those. While the appointments to those have been dicey in the past couple of years with Governor J.B. Pritzker, in some cases, and this isn't just with the PRB, it happens sometimes with other appointments, the governor will make an appointment and the Senate has like 60 session days when they're scheduled. So they have like 60 session days to act on an appointment. And that appointment, if it's controversial, the governor may withdraw that appointment and then reappoint them, restarting that clock. And that's happened several times. But there have been some PRB members in the past that there was bipartisan opposition against because of maybe a lack of experience, maybe a lack of good quality review of decisions that they've made. You have a story that a young child was killed after somebody who was released trying to attack the mother, and that's just one of several types of stories out there where you've got this being a problem and coming to a head, and public safety is definitely a concern. But here is State Representative Will Guzzardi in the Illinois House talking about the changes that come about with Senate Bill 19 that is now law after Governor J.B. Pritzker signed that on Friday. Here is Will Guzzardi back in May.
It's a modernization of the authorizing law for the Prisoner Review Board. There are about 20 distinct changes in the bill. I would describe them as in three general buckets or categories. The first bucket is expanding the rights of victims in petitions before the Prisoner Review Board. This bill also clarifies and improves processes for petitioners who are going before the board. And then the third category of changes would be increasing the professionalism and the efficiency of members of the board, including for the first time a requirement that people with experience in the criminal legal system, law enforcement officers, prosecutors, judges, etc., be appointed to the Prisoner Review Board.
So the Prisoner Review Board has now these qualifications for members to be appointed. But there's also something that rubbed Republicans the wrong way, and that was extending the term for which PRB members can serve.
And then we are affecting the term of the PRB members. We are going from 6 years to 8 years. Why are we increasing their term?
I think my understanding of the effort from the Senate is to try to mitigate the politicization of this board and to try to make it more able to function more smoothly without having to be before the body. And I think that experience on that board is helpful for members. So the idea of these shorter terms, the idea might be that there would be an overmuch turnover and there wouldn't be enough sort of built-up experience amongst board members.
Well, I think the point you brought out, and again, conversation with some senators, is they felt like changing the term impacted their ability to have oversight on the PRB because, they have to advise and consent on those members, and by linking their term, that limits their authority. Why do you feel this is not a limitation on their authority?
I would say it's a change from 6 years to 8 years, so it's not a drastic change by any measure. And frankly, this is an area in which I'm really deferring to the Senate being the entity that engages in this behavior.
So you got Guzzardi, who was laying out the various particulars of the measure when it comes to how the Senate interacts, but they wanted to get this through because this was important changes to the PRB. A little history, they had a similar piece of legislation last year, but that General Assembly ended in the beginning of January this year. So that legislation is dead and cannot come back. It passed the House, but it passed the Senate, but it never passed the House. And there was allegations that the governor put his weight on the measure to keep it from passing. So they brought this new measure with this new General Assembly that has these other tweaks in it that Republicans raised a red flag about. On the Senate floor, Senate President Don Harmon sponsored SB 19 and had some back and forth with State Senator Steve McClure, a Republican from Springfield.
Why increase that term by 2 years?
President Harmon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, I think it's a combination of factors that we believe will result in best practices. This is not necessarily a career. We are actively encouraging retired judges, for instance, to join the Prisoner Review Board. But most importantly, we want members to make good decisions free of politics. I think with an 8-year term, members will be less concerned about being reappointed and will serve their term and do the best work that they can do.
Senator McClure.
So then I guess my next question would be, if you want these to be free of politics, do you think it was political when Republicans and Democrats joined together in a majority to get members off the Prisoner Review Board who were releasing people that most of us, I think, were very upset that they were being released?
President Harmon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think that's related to this bill at all, but I appreciate your question.
So the questions kept going, and then Senator McClure, he decided just to address the issue at hand here, and that is the role that the Senate plays in all of this. With the appointments to the Prisoner Review Board and the importance of that oversight that only the Senate has the power to do.
The House does not advise and consent appointments. The governor does not offer advice and consent on his own appointments. This is a unique duty to us. And that's why I was proud to join President Harmon and Democrats, Republicans, because there was a bill that President Harmon put together by the Senate, from the Senate, because of our unique responsibilities. And unfortunately here, it looks as though the governor has had too much influence on the end result. And the House has had too much influence on the end result. It is not their job to vet these appointments. It is solely our responsibility. And so I was proud of our chamber when we rejected people that were not serving our state in a way that people would agree with who are concerned about public safety.
So that measure is now law after Governor J.B. Pritzker signed it on Friday. We'll be doing this with some of the, not all of the 450 bills that they passed, right? I want to make clear that we're not going to have time for going over all 450 bills, but we will be unpacking the debates that happened around the legislation that the governor enacts that's more controversial. Some of the things, for instance, Senate Bill 8, that is the safe gun storage measure. Governor J.B. Pritzker, I'm anticipating, and just a prediction, he might have a signing ceremony on that to bring gun control advocates together, but clearly there's some gun rights advocates that adamantly oppose the safe gun storage bill to the point where they say that they're going to sue over it. This while you've got pending litigation elsewhere, challenging laws in Illinois. And even preemptive lawsuits challenging potential laws in Illinois. All right, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. I'm glad to be back in my home studio, but it was nice to be able to see how I could do this remotely, so maybe more of that to come. All right. Get the latest headlines at thecentersquare.com.